Hello, it's Carol again. I want to welcome you to my happy place. And today I'm going to be doing a little bit more work on my naked journal. But before that, two things. I want to thank so many of you. I have had so many new subscribers since I started working on this naked journal. And I want to thank all of you for joining me. My art is part of my makeup and my being, and I am going to do this just because I have to. But it certainly makes me feel wonderful to know that so many of you want to join me on the voyage. The second thing, and in connection with that, is I want to thank all of my subbies who comment almost all of the time. I look forward to hearing from you. I answer you, and it makes me happy that you are willing to take the time to share with me or to ask questions, and it just, what words can I use? It just warms my heart. So thank you, you know who I'm talking to. The other thing is I'm usually, after 37 years of being a teacher, I'm usually, by nature, I tend to plan and think about what I'm going to do before I do it. I plan, I set little objectives in my head and I get my materials. Doesn't that sound like a teacher? But I find more and more as I do this art, particularly since I started junk journaling. I don't know whether they're connected or not, but I tend to happily travel down rabbit holes, and I go through phases in which I'm just full of plans and ideas, and it just almost feels as though it's bubbling up, probably from one of those rabbit holes. So I'm going to give into that a little bit more than I usually do, and I'm going to be getting to Naked Journal, but I also want to talk about something else that we've been working on together. Just because I want to share with you. I've been doing a little in this pickup journal, not on the cover yet, but I'm starting to percolate some ideas for that cover. But the last time we visited, I had the first two dividers done, or on the road to being done. So this was the first one, and this was the second. I have taken time. Whenever you see a paper clip, you know that this is something that is in process or I'm thinking about. I wanted to use these colors as the focal, let's say, for this divider, and so this is the front and this is the back. These are things that we worked on together in previous videos, and so that is the additions that I'm probably going to be adding to the second divider. I also thought about all of this very, very carefully and decided that now that I have been starting to finally be able to purchase some journals, because from my favorite artists, I feel as though I want to support other artists that make such beautiful things. And I thought now, I had planned to make this for myself, and I've kind of rethought, and I've decided that no, I'm probably going to be sharing this. And along that line, I've also decided to go back to adding these pages behind number 1, number 2, and number 3. I have quite a selection of papers and pages here. So there are the papers for that section. And the second section is quite similar. And this one ends in other papers. This is from a lined folder, of course, that you see in Walmart and then might not see again, but those are some lined folders. And then I've been taking some time, without turning on the camera, I've been taking some time just to get some papers down on the folder number 3 and 4. And as you can see, this is a heavy girl, large and rather heavy. And when the papers are in there, you can see she's got quite a lot of heft, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with these papers, but I've decided that whatever home she goes to, these will be offered, but they might be used, not used, or whatever. I'm not going to do anything on those papers, but I am going to be adding to the folder dividers. This folder divider is the number 3, and it is focusing on blues and aqua and teal a little bit. So papers, front and back, and I used a piece of my stitchery that I had scanned, because it has a bit of blue here, and I thought it would be a nice background. So I've also decided that on this one, and I will be working on these with you, I've decided that since this focal is blue, I'm going to be adding these bits of blue to that to this one. So why don't I just tuck them in here for the time being. These I've made with you in previous videos, and they are certainly going to work very nicely here. Then, for the last one, I decided to focus on Goldie Oranges, because I have these 4 pieces that I want to add. This was gifted to me in Happy Mail. I wish I remembered exactly whom, but look at the beautiful sari ribbon in lovely orangey gold color. And so these are the ones that are going to be attached here, and I have put my background papers on. And let's get these tucked in. And here. So that will go, these will go on the front and back, and here would be the back for that one, and I had already worked on the back of the journal. So, just sharing. I also decided, in conjunction with this journal, to go through my my stash pack goodies that I got from Sarah at the mushroom market, and I keep all of her all of the things that I received in that stash pack. I keep them in a folder, as you can see, and I went through it to try to find some additions for the 2 colors that I'm going to be working on. So I found this that will work nicely here, and this, there is some blue there, and a little bit of pink, which works very nicely with the clusters. And then for this last one, I found this, although it could work well for blue also, but I'm going to declare it for this one. And this, things that Sarah sends are just delightful, and she made this this envelope, and wow, and look, isn't this gorgeous? Well, I'm going to use that here. So I just wanted to share that. I'm going to back out. I'm going to scurry backwards to come out of this rabbit hole now, and get back to sharing what the plan was for the day. Okay, I did a little bit here. Clips kind of get my attention. So, if you will remember, I had just attached this pocket, which is a double pocket, and we had done this on the first Naked Junk Journal video, and then I decided that I would play a little bit, and I added some of the some inking to that stencil, and I decided to add some centers and grow lines and attention to the outside edge of the flowers, and I used these Faber-Castell pens and my glaze pens. These glaze pens, as you can see, they do leave a certain sparkle, and so I used the blue and the pink in the centers, and that was much fun. We set those aside now, get them out of harm's way. So I thought, what shall I do on this pocket? So I thought, maybe just a little cluster, and I found that, and I found that. A cluster without a piece of music sheet. Well, so we're going to do that, and then this piece here, and you know where a lot of these pieces came from. Old Standby. Old Standby always seems to manage to come up with the goodies. And what's next? Another piece from some of the baggies that I was planning to use in this journal. Here is a piece of ephemera, and a piece of lace that I rubbed a little bit of Faded Jeans Distress ink on. So that is going to go there. That's, well, why don't we just don't talk about it? Let's do it. And I also found this photo of one of my glue book pages, and I thought, well, if I cut that down a little bit, wouldn't that be nice as a the colors work so well here? Wouldn't that be nice as an inclusion? Or I can use it as I'm going to put some coffee dyed paper on the back, and it's going to become a writing spot. So that's going to be trimmed a little on the sides to go into this pocket. And finally, I found this. I have been wondering where this came from for at least 2 years, particularly watching Gail use it on tags and cards for the front of journals. Well, there it was in Hobby Lobby. They must have gotten it in a new supply, because it certainly wasn't there, and this girl goes to Hobby Lobby often enough that I would have seen it before. But not only did I find it, it was on sale. So I'm going to do probably a tag to go here in this pocket and use that as a writing spot. So that's my plan. Now, let's make this one. In fact, let's build it right there on the page. Alrighty, let's have a nice bit of Fabri-Tac there. And a piece of fabric, we have that right there. And isn't it doing nicely? Okay. Alright, let's have that going this way. And what's next here? Oh, yes, the piece of vintage music. And I do believe, yes, that I used Walnut Stain Distress ink on these. because I thought it went very nicely with that, with this padding that I used for the cover. And this one next. Now I'd better hold this journal properly so that I can see what's happening here. Okay, this one's this way, this one's this way. I want that to show. Yes, I do. I think we'll put that one back there. There's this little bit. Also came out, I believe, out of this bag. Yes, one of these pieces. In fact, there it is. So it's a good thing sometimes to have things that you think you might use, because sometimes you strike it lucky and do. And this has some of the some green and some from this green and some of the pink flowers. And let's have this one standing out over that way. And then this tiny bit from a very old book from the $2 Man. Maybe this way. And I want to leave these edges a little bit loose because it adds dimension. And a piece of lace. Well, Carol, you weren't careful, and you did not look carefully at that little piece of lace. You colored the wrong side. There's a right side and a wrong side to lace. So, and I also figured out that when you have a group of these and you try to use one per different color, this one is obvious that it's blue, but some of these not so much. So I took some time to use my Sharpie and label these puppies. Better late than never. Just a little bit of a hint of blue. Well, I thought I had a cleanup sheet. I guess not. My husband, who builds model airplanes, suggested that when I finish using it before I put the cap down over, he said I don't need to screw it on, but to cover it. He said if you do that, it lets out some of the gas and drops the glue. And since he's been building model airplanes since 1952, I will listen carefully. Now, about right up there. Right up there. Righty. There it is. Cluster accomplished. Now, okay. I need to take a bit. This is going to have to be pruned down just a touch. And like that. I think I'll take this off here at the bottom. Okay, is that right there? Or not. Let's think about that. I think I won't take it off at the bottom. I think I'll take it off at the top. Let's check. Yes. Absolutely. For that one. Now, thinking just a little addition. No, not yet. Not yet. I need some paper to back this so that it can become a writing spot. I'm going to remember that I want to use this piece of my of one of my digis because of the coloration in it to play this up. In fact, I'm going to tuck that over here so that it stays to the front of my brain. Now, let's have some French. Yes, let's. Right over that, or not. I think I'm rethinking. Just because I want it there, it certainly defeats the idea of it being a writing spot. How about, yes, there we go. There. Absolutely there. I do hope that all of you have had an enjoyable Father's Day weekend with your families, and we'll be having a pleasant week to come. Bingo. I've decided to go back to Yoo-Hoo because I have enjoyed it, and I've experimented with other brands of glue stick, and this one is very nice, particularly because it's very, very dry. It is not a wet glue. And that seems to work a treat for me. I'm sure some of you have other ideas, and that's the point of this whole exercise, is to share with each other. And maybe a little bit of faded jeans. Distressing, in my mind, does not necessarily have to be vintage photo or tea dye or espresso. Colored too, as far as Aunt Carol is concerned. Now, think I'll leave this plain, or will I stitch around that? Well, my sewing machine is there and it's ready to go. I'm going to stitch around this, straight stitch around this. I'll be right back. I do believe that this little Singer sewing machine is finally getting broken in. I don't know whether they have to be, but it seems to be out of shock and cooperating with me. Whoops. Bingo. All right. Probably didn't like that thread. Yes, definitely. I bet it wishes it was on strike. Okay. Now, so we have a writing spot. It's the blue and the pink here just told me that it had to be. So let's slide that in here. Right there. Should do. I think there's probably going to be something here. I'm thinking a... I'm thinking... Yes, stop, Carol. Go on now. Well, this is what I've been working on a little bit off camera. I made another journaling card. I used a piece of the offcut that goes with this page, and I decided on a little bit of stenciling using Vintage Photo and this. Only this manages this effect. I'm sure some folks are able to get that effect with a sponge or whatever it is that you might use, but that is what works for me. And so I added a little bit of, oh yes, these two pages facing each other, I decided to have a little relationship here. And I used a piece of French ribbon and a piece of this lace. As I said, I'm starting to really, that Singer is starting to accommodate itself to Carol, I say, but let's be honest, it's the other way around. I used some of the faded jeans and my handy-dandy French script stamp. So, this is going to go here as a tuck, and I'm going to make a little cluster. But before we do that, I'm thinking that, let me have a look here. Yes. Put that even closer. Every little tiny bit counts, because that way the lace shows. Lace and this just, well, this little card came in that trove from last July at that estate sale. So, and these flowers with the flowers here making me very, very happy. Now I'm going to put this down. Okay, these are the two sides. And I'm going to put it rather close. And another cluster, and I'm following through again on the little flower here. Going to have some here, and a tiny little bit of pink. This time, coming out of this leftovers envelope, and this is a piece of my a digi that is going to be coming to my shop. I've been using it to experiment to see if it worked for me and made me happy, and so I'm going to have two of these, one on a buff background and one on white. This is such beautiful lace, and I'm thinking maybe some of this lace might just find a home on here. We'll see. So I cut this bit off because it was kind of flattish. I want to put that up a bit. I want it to stand up. I want it to show on the edge. And what will we have here? Let's have a little tea dye. First, some tea dye, and this time, in order to make this, I followed an Artie Mays tip, and Andrea takes her Distress, puts it down on this glass, hits it a few times, uses a fine mist of water to spray, and puts this down. I wore rubber gloves, puts this down, and gets it all wet, and it dyes. It dyes just beautifully. And then I hung it out in the garage. You know, this is Florida, so that garage gets warm, and it dries a treat. So, finally, I have cheesecloths in colors. Quite simply, the last time I did it, I used my box and my Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist, and it was lovely. I mean, it did beautiful dyeing. It did these two shades. But this was, I only needed a little bit, hopefully, for this book, and right down here, quite easy. So, let's see, we're going to kind of, maybe I'll cut that in half and put one on top of the other. Here, and here, I want that lace to show, and here, and maybe next right there. And let's have a little tea dye on this. Now this is light paper, so I'm going to have to be careful. Don't get carried away here, or I will ruin this. Right here. think that will be the start. Does that need any lace? Does that need any lace? Does that need any lace? That would go nicely with that. And that could be right there. Yes, no blue this time. So, let's build this little puppy. Right here, off the edge, yes. And I want to make sure that that stays disconnected to the back, so we're going to put that in. And then some cheesecloth glue. This is just, I was watching Anna Lee from Sweden. Her videos are wonderful. If you haven't found her, it's spelled Annelis. That's her name, all one word, Anna Lee. And she was demonstrating the value of the wonderfulness of cheesecloth and what can be done. She also showed that it also can tend to hide a multitude of sins, which is double wonderful. Yeah. A little of the glue came off because it got wet. That's okay. What was next? The flower. That flower needs a little something something. Glaze. Yes. It's rather thick and rather juicy. And it dries a little bit thicker on your paper, and it keeps some dimension to it. It's a Sakura product, and it's just cold glaze pens, and I believe last year I found these. At now let me think. Oh yes, I wanted to show you. See that it is quite. Hold this over here so that you can really see it. See, quite juicy. Okay, it's not the one, it's not Office Max or Office Depot, it's the other one. Gracious, I don't go in there very often, and I'm seeing it, but I can't find it in my mind right now. It's the other huge, Staples. Staples, yay, head still works. I found this at Staples. And let's see where we're headed now. Let's have this. over here, if I can do this, it will give some dimensionality to that flower, which would be nice. And now how are we going to do this? How about under that one? I think so. I think so. I'm going to use this to pick this up. Alrighty. Well, this little tiny bit of leftover lace did not make it into the snippet envelope. That's very good. And upsy daisy. And down it goes. So, our snippet for that page. Oh, Lordy be. Well, a little bit of 91% rubbing alcohol. It cures my nails and it cures this, everything. It's magic. But it's the 91% that's the most magic, according to my husband, of course, who knows, because he's been using it for 40 years. So, now, let's see what we have here. Let's see it. Well, yes, it did. Okay, happiness is. I don't want to close this yet because I want to make sure that the glaze dries. And I think I'm going to leave these this next spread until our last visit. If you have enjoyed our visit in my happy place today and and my trips down rabbit holes, I would certainly appreciate your giving me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and whoopsie daisy. Well, I didn't get to this today. Sorry about that. I didn't get to this today, but that's just making a tag, and it's going to be rather plain. We'll share that. I'll share that next week, and I would appreciate your subscribing to my channel. Let's have a close-up look-see now. That sepia French script on that lovely twill tape is just delightful. And this is rather heavy tape, and I believe this is on a card in Hobby Lobby. And this pretty puppy from the estate sale. And the snippet. And over here, some of the stenciling, and this photo of a clue book page of mine, and this snippet on the pocket. I'm going to put that this book belongs to in the front part of this pocket. So, bye now. See you soon.